Hi guys, welcome to Drum Dog, and today we're talking about bass drum size. I think it's safe to say that 90% of drum kits have 22-inch bass drums, and that's become the accepted standard for a lot of genres. Whereas some genres, like jazz for example, tend to use smaller bass drums, as we find on bop-sized kits with 18-inch kicks. But in recent years, a few drummers have taken to adopting smaller kicks and using them outside of a jazz setting and bringing them into a more rock and funk scenario. Now there are benefits to using smaller bass drums, namely the convenience, especially if you're gigging. Hey! Now, in order to get this 18-inch bass drum punching a little bit more above its weight, we're going to be looking at a few ways of changing the sound, including our tuning and our head choices and so forth. But first of all, to get an idea of how they sound in their normal setting, let's compare these two drums together to see the difference. Now here we have a Tama Star Classic Babinga kick, which is a 22x18. It's got an Evans EQ3 frosted batter head and a stock Tama resonant head. And here we have a Tama Silver Star, which is an all birch shell on an 18x14 with an Evans calf tone batter head tuned up nice and high for a jazz setting, and again a stock Tama Rezo head on the front. So it's pretty obvious at the moment these drums are like chalk and cheese. We've got loads of punch and definition out of the 22, whereas the 18 is a much longer note and it's generating more of a pitch of a defined note rather than a sort of slap and definition sound. Now the first thing we're going to do to get this out of that kind of note range and into something a bit more punchy is we're just going to drop the tuning of both of those heads to stop that resonant note and get a nice kind of fat slap sound. Now to achieve this, I'm going to take the batter and resonant head to their lowest possible tension where they will hold even tension around the head. To get that, I'm going to drop all of the tension off all of the lugs. I'm going to bring them all up just finger tight, and then I'm going to press a finger in the center of the head and just nip up each lug until the wrinkling on the head disappears from around that lug. Now when you are doing this, do work your way around the head slowly to remove those wrinkles, as if you just crank them up to remove all of the wrinkles the first time you touch a lug, you're going to end up over tensioning that lug and then not matching the same tension around the other side of the head. Now we've got those two heads nice and low pitched, let's see how it sounds. Now I'm actually really impressed with the low end response we're getting from this bass drum here. Although it's small, that tuning's got it really punching out some good low frequencies. But how can we take this that next step towards getting that nice slappy attack? Well, now we're going to get into head choice. Now at the moment we do have an Evans calf tone fitted to it, which is a very jazz orientated head and doesn't get much of a punch and attack at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to swap that out for an Evans EMAD head with a pre-dampened ring on it on a clear head to get a much more slappy attack. Again, we're going to be tuning this EMAD to the lowest tension possible to achieve that same tuning range. Okay, so now we're really starting to get towards that sound that we're aiming for here, but I don't know if you guys caught it, but we've got that dreaded basketball tone on this bass drum now, and that resonance really doesn't sound nice yet. So what we're gonna do to combat that is we're gonna add a little bit of dampening. Now for dampening here, we're going to be using this little Evans EQ pillow, which is just the right size for this drum actually, because it's not really that big and it just reaches the batter head and the resonant head to really control this basketball resonance we're getting. Let's see how it sounds. Now I'm actually really impressed with the sound we've got out of this little kit now. We've got a really nice low end kick that's controlled, we've got a nice clear definition, and this 18-inch kick is really punching above its weight and would sit in any rock or funk context. Now in terms of the drum itself, we've done everything we can within reason to change this sound. We've changed the tuning of both heads, we've changed the batter head itself, and we've changed the dampening. But it's not just that affects our drum sound in most scenarios. We do have to consider things further than just the drum itself and take a look at mic placement. Now we are using a Shure Beta 52A here, which does get a really nice low end response and is going to help this drum carry its low end weight, but there are ways that we can change this to get more attack yet and just bring it closer to the sound of that 22. So instead of just sitting the mic in the porthole on that resonant head, we're actually going to move the mic just inside the shell, still towards the back half by the resonant head, but by doing this we're going to round off a little bit of that low end and help us capture more attack. Now the drum is going to sound exactly the same in the room, but let's hear how it sounds with that different mic placement. Now I think it's safe to say the sound of this drum has now gone through a fairly massive transformation, and we've now got a sound that would sit in any genre outside of jazz, kind of without sounding out of place at all. Now let's just have a recap on all of the sounds that we've had and each change that we've made, still comparing back to that 22 tone that we're looking for. Now I really hope this video has helped any 18-inch bass drum owners or people that are thinking of buying one out there realize that you can use these drums outside of a jazz setting to great use. It's just using the right tuning and the right combination of heads to find that sound that you're looking for. Now if you're interested in watching more sound comparison and tuning videos like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you again soon.